Researchers offered people money for a set of dinnerware. One group saw a set of 24 pieces, all in perfect condition. A different group saw a bigger set, 31 pieces, including those same 24 good ones, plus 7 more that happened to be broken. On average, people offered more money for the smaller, flawless set than for the bigger set that included a few broken pieces. Here's the strange part. The bigger set contains everything the smaller set has, plus more. The only difference is 7 extra items nobody has to use, and people still valued it lower. Each group only ever saw one set. Nobody was comparing anything side by side. They were judging a set of dishes completely on its own, with nothing to measure it against. Later, researchers showed a new group of people both sets at the same time, side by side, and the answer flipped completely. Now the bigger set, with the broken pieces, was priced higher than the smaller, flawless one. Same 2 sets, same broken plates, opposite verdict. Nothing about the dinnerware changed between these 2 experiments. The only thing that changed was whether someone was looking at one option alone or 2 options next to each other. Hit like, because this next part explains why. When you evaluate something completely on its own, no comparison, nothing else in the frame, you don't have a reliable scale to measure it against, so your brain grabs onto whatever is easiest to judge. A broken plate is easy to judge. It's simply bad. A count of 31 pieces versus 24 is not easy to judge in isolation. Quantity alone doesn't tell you if that's a lot or a little, good or bad. So the easy signal, the flaw, ends up carrying the entire verdict. The one thing that's simple to evaluate on its own drowns out everything that would require actual comparison to appreciate. Put 2 things side by side, and this flips. Now there's finally a scale. More good plates is visibly, obviously more. The extra broken pieces stop mattering much because they're outnumbered by pieces that are just as good as the smaller sets. Comparison gives your brain the one thing solo judgment never had, a reference point. This has a name in psychology, the less is better effect, and it's a close cousin of a bigger idea. What you see is all there is. Your mind builds its entire verdict from whatever's in front of it in that moment. It doesn't pause to ask what's missing, or what the comparison would look like if there were one. It just works with what's there. And when what's there is a single flaw sitting in an otherwise empty frame, that flaw becomes the whole story. Here's where this actually shows up outside a psychology lab. Think about the last time you looked at something completely on its own. No competitor open in another tab, no side-by-side chart, nothing else to measure it against. If that thing had one clear, easy-to-name flaw sitting in it, that flaw did more work in your judgment than it probably deserved. Not because you're careless, because in isolation, a flaw is simply the easiest thing in the room to judge, so it becomes the loudest thing in the room. And here's the flip side. Worth sitting with. The same thing that can quietly work against something you're presenting can also work in its favor, depending on whether the moment someone encounters it is a solo moment or a side-by-side one. A thing that would lose badly stacked directly against a bigger, more complete competitor can hold its own perfectly well when someone simply meets it on its own terms, judged for what it is, rather than measured against something else in the frame. That's not an argument for hiding flaws, and it's not a trick. It's a genuinely useful thing to understand about how any of us actually forms an opinion about anything. A meal, a gift, a decision, a person we just met. In isolation, one sharp, easy-to-name flaw can outweigh a pile of quieter, harder-to-appreciate strengths sitting right next to it. Side by side with something else, the math finally gets to matter, and the fuller picture wins. So the next time you're forming an opinion about something, or wondering why your gut reaction to 2 very similar things landed so differently, ask yourself one question. Am I actually comparing this to something else right now? Or am I alone in a room with it, letting the one easy thing to judge decide everything for me? Next time, the rigged wheel of fortune that changed people's answers about Africa without a single person in the room ever noticing it had happened. If you want to catch that one, or this changed how you'll look at the next thing you judge completely on its own, subscribe so you get notified when it's up. See you there.